Hello, I'm Brad Sherman from California's best named city, Sherman Oaks. It is a pleasure to be with my fellow Californian, Tom McClintock. I know Frank Pallone must still be here. Anna Eshoo, my heart breaks to see her leave Congress, but she will still be with us in so many ways. And Jim McGovern, you should all know of his advocacy for every human rights cause around the globe. We're here today to commemorate and mourn. 1 year after 120,000 and more indigenous Armenians were ethnically cleansed. And when Artsakh's democratically elected political leaders were seized, kidnapped, and remain illegally detained. And I just had a chance to meet with the son of the former president of the Republic of Artsakh. I know that his father is called by some a prisoner of war, but a prisoner of war is an armed man caught in combat. Now, this is a man who fought for human rights back in the days of the Soviet Union, fought for, served in a non-military role for the people of Artsakh, and is now being subject to God knows what level of torture and abuse. I began to focus on what was then the Republic of Nagorno-Karabakh back in 1997, when I fought for the first U.S. aid to the people of Artsakh. And I was told, well, that carries with it implicit recognition. That was a feature, not a bug. But implicit recognition was not enough. We needed to have made it explicit recognition. We are told that the one time that the borders of Europe have been changed by military action is with regard to the Ukraine. No. It is the invasion of the Republic of Artsakh by the forces of Azerbaijan. In February, I was pleased to partner with the Armenian National Committee to host a congressional briefing with the Republic of Artsakh's human rights defender, Gayem Stefanyan, and who is, I believe, here with us today, and former State Minister Artsakh Larjan. My Armenian is not that good. You'll forgive me. To shed light on the crimes committed by Azerbaijan. In April, I joined my good friend Dina Titus in introducing the Azerbaijan Sanctions Review Act, which goes after the 44 Azeri officials most directly responsible for the ethnic cleansing of Artsakh's Armenian population. And gathered with you on many occasions to talk about the recognition of the first genocide of the 20th century. The Ottomans fully understood that the last step of a genocide is genocide denial. You obliterate a people, and then you obliterate the memory of the obliteration. And of course, it is the first step in the next genocide, since it empowers those bent on genocide elsewhere. Well, the last step in ethnic cleansing is the denial of the ethnic cleansing. You expel a people, and then you try to expel the memory that the people ever lived there. Those of us who have on occasion studied ancient history know the real facts. 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, Armenia encompassed more territory than the ANCA would ever dream of claiming. And there wasn't a Turk in sight. And yet we're told that somehow the opposite. Look at the writings of the Parthian Empire, the Achaemenid Empire, the Persian Empire, the Roman Empire. And you will see thousands of pages saved for thousands of years about their interactions with the Armenian people. You know what you won't see in any of those readings? Turk. For the Romans had not gone to the Atlas Mountains near Mongolia to find people to interact with. Now, one issue I think is very personal, because just yesterday I met with Garhane and Lana and heard their stories in my office. First, the story of a woman who had the heart-wrenching experience of Azeri airstrikes against her civilian home in Azerbaijan, in Artsakh. And then Lana shared with me the story and the pictures that will haunt me forever of her sister who was captured by Azeri forces and the horrific footage of her torture and mutilation by Azeri soldiers. The only thing more horrific than those pictures was the knowledge that Azeris put it up on Telegram because they were proud of it. My God. Limbs and fingers cut off, things done to her that I don't want to remember, let alone recount, up on Telegram. I do want to mention a couple things that haven't been mentioned here today. My friend Frank Gaffney was outside and pointed out to me that in November, the COP29 conference is going to be held in Baku. Those of you who follow the environmental movement know that this is the 29th conference to focus on global warming. It'll have thousands of people from all over the world, and for some reason they're going to a place that is known for only two things: the production of fossil fuel and the ethnic cleansing of Armenians. I cannot, as a longtime co-sponsor of the Green New Deal, I cannot think of a worse thing than the environmental movement could do than have COP21 take place in Baku. Have it here in the capital of the United States, the country that we need to mobilize to defeat global warming. The second thing I want to bring to your attention are the comments of David Lammy, the new foreign minister of Britain. I guess he's just learning his new portfolio. For he says, Azerbaijan has been able to liberate territory it lost in the early 1990s. Look, I understand how difficult it is to be a politician, a parliamentarian, and involved in foreign policy all at the same time. But I gotta wonder whether Lammy is ready for prime time. For he obviously is shooting off his mouth about the Caucasus, and I'm not sure he could find them on a map. It is time for the Labour Party to make it very plain that Britain stands by its earlier understanding that the people of Artsakh should be living in Artsakh. I don't think this was a well-considered departure from British policy. I think he just doesn't know what he's talking about. It's time he learns. Maybe if he met with the leaders of the Armenian National Committee and with leaders in Britain of the Armenian community, he will be in a position to know. I, of course, have joined with Adam Schiff on his bill. We need the Artsakh Revenue Recovery Act, both to seize the assets of Azerbaijan and to finance our efforts in Armenia. Now, Armenia faces this 120,000 plus refugees. The whole country is familiar with the big $9 billion, with the huge supplemental foreign aid bill that we passed. Everybody thinks it's about Ukraine and Israel. There's $9 billion of unearmarked humanitarian aid. I got Blinken to go on the record at a public hearing saying some of that will be spent in Armenia. Now we have to explain how much of it needs to be spent in Armenia. Aliyev well understands that the last refuge of a scoundrel and a dictator, and he at least knows he's a scoundrel and a dictator, is intense fundamentalist nationalism. With that and his oil revenues, he now wants to conquer Armenia. And it's time for America to make it plain that isn't going to happen. Now, I've been involved in foreign policy for a long time, a lot longer than David Lammy. And I learned something, because I fought to have U.S. military aid go to Ukraine before the first invasion of Ukraine. And what Ukraine has learned is you don't expect the American army to show up in Europe. But if you've got the weapons to defend yourself, you can defend yourself. It is time to act now on a massive campaign to arm and train the Armenian military, not so it will win a war, but so that it will prevent a war. And if we don't do that now, we will see not peace but war in the Caucasus, because Aliyev's appetite has been whetted. He has ethnically cleansed 120,000 Armenians. He's looking to, as another speaker said, quote, finish the job. So we need civilian aid for Armenia. We need to seize Azeri property in the United States. We need to recognize the true history. We need to commiserate with the victims of these terrible crimes. We need to publicize these crimes. We have to tell the environmental movement they've got to know where they're going. And perhaps most important of all, we need to make sure that Armenia is strong enough that Aliyev goes somewhere, it does something else. Probably won't be any good, but for him to think that he can use his oil revenues and the weapons he acquires to wage war again would be a huge mistake for the world. I thank you for listening to me for so long. I'm Brad Sherman.